As undergraduate students and researchers, you are expected to use existing knowledge in your coursework. This means referring to scholarly articles, books, web pages, reference resources, etc. What comes into play here is the ethical use of information. Scholarly information is a commodity because it has value to you as well as others. The three major concepts to be discussed in this lecture are copyright, fair use, and plagiarism. Copyright is a set of laws defined in the U.S. Code that give rights to the owners of intellectual property. Like a piece of land has an owner and that owner has legal protections with regard to that land, so too does information have an owner, be it individual or corporation, with legal protections for that information. Watch Copyright Basics for a brief introduction to copyright. For society's advancement in the areas of arts, sciences, humanities, etc., lawmakers recognize the need for the use of copyrighted materials. After all, if no one could use anyone else's research findings, there would be no way for science or technology to advance. To address this, there exists fair use. Fair use is a means for individuals to use copyrighted materials without the need to obtain permission by the copyright holder. Fair use is law. It's part of the U.S. Code, and that provides a legal defense for such usage. Fair use sets parameters as to how much and for what purpose copyrighted information can be used. One of the allowed purposes is within educational settings for research and/or scholarship. And for this reason, you, as students, do not need to ask for permission to use a scholarly article, book, etc. The video, A Fair Use Tale, is a brief introduction to fair use. It uses Disney movie clips to take a shot at the company. The Disney company is an aggressive prosecutor of Disney copyright violators and is a strong proponent for lengthening the time of copyright protection. The current length of copyright is the life of the author plus 70 years, or for corporate copyrights such as Disney films, 95 years from publication or 120 years after creation, whichever is shorter. Plagiarism is probably the most applicable piece of this part of this module to you. Plagiarism is the theft of intellectual property. This does not mean stealing a book. It means the use of information in said book without giving credit to the author. To be clear, you do not need to get the author's permission, but you do need to cite, that is, make notation that you are using someone else's work to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism is an ethical, not a legal issue. If a student were to get caught plagiarizing, they would not get sued because they're protected by fair use, but they may, depending on the nature and severity of the plagiarism, receive a failing grade on the assignment, up to and including expulsion from school. The video, A Quick Guide to Plagiarism, is just that. Watch it to learn how to avoid plagiarizing. The way to ethically use information, copyrighted or otherwise, is to cite the sources you use in your works. How to cite the myriad of resource types available could be its own course. So, in the Useful Websites Online Tools section, I've included links to the Purdue OWL and Noodle Express. The Purdue OWL is one of the best resources for guidance on writing using MLA and APA formatting schemes. The OWL gives guidance on how to format your paper, how to cite resources within your text and in the bibliography, as well as general writing assistance. Noodle Express is a free citation generator. It can help you create citations in the MLA, APA, and Chicago formats. The way to avoid plagiarism is conscientious citation. For more information on proper citation, use the Purdue OWL and/or go to the Claude Clark Learning Center, which is located on the first floor of Feinberg Library. So to summarize the main points of this lecture, copyright creates protections for creators of various works. Copyright allows them to restrict distribution, copying, and performance. Fair use defines the conditions under which it is acceptable and legal for someone to use a copyright-protected work. Plagiarism is the theft of intellectual property. Intellectual property is considered stolen when an author uses someone else's work and claims it as their own or fails to provide proper citation for the work.